Metaphysics Mike's gonna come up. I'm gonna talk for a little bit.
All right, I'll mute.
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, Bryce?
Hanging out.
All right, all right. So, hey, let me run an argument past you.
Alrighty. What you got for me today?
Do you believe that the Father is fully and equally God with the Son and Holy Spirit?
Yes.
Is Jesus the Father?
No.
Okay, if both the Father and the Son are fully and equally God and they're not each other, why is that not two gods?
Well, because our argument as to why God is one is due to the fact that because He's one in nature and one in act or energy, that is what actually represents the equality and the consubstantiality that they have. So I'm not really sure how that leads to two gods. That doesn't lead to two different natures.
Right. So the answer then is essentially they have the same nature, they share the same nature.
And that they're one in energy or act mostly. I don't usually do the whole single nature argument because I follow more of the Cappadocian argument for one God by applying that God is one energy. And because of the fact that God is one singular act in three persons, that's how we can know that He's not separated.
So would you say that you and I both share human nature?
Yes.
So if we share human nature, then why are we two humans, but the persons in the Trinity share a nature and they're not two gods?
Because you and I have two different modes of actualizing things that are proper to our nature. So, for example, like our mind, right? Like we actualize our mind differently. In our view in theology, we believe in this thing called dunamis and energeia, or we can call it energy type and energy token in a formal sense, which the energy type would simply just be the capacity for someone to do something due to their nature, and then the energy token would be the actualization of said capacity or capability. You and I both share the exact same energy types. You and I both have the ability to do the same things that are natural to our nature. But our energy tokens are different because I can choose to stand up right now and you don't have to. So with that being said, you and I would then therefore be separated.
Okay, so I'm not fully sure I understand. Let me just ask a few more questions, see if I can get this cleared up. So would you say that the Son and the Father have different energies?
No. The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit all have one singular energy type and energy token. So that's why
we don't have separate energies either.
Yeah. Yeah, we technically speaking are one in energy, but actualizing that energy would be different between people, which is why we're separated.
So is it like human sharing a nature, or is it not like human sharing a nature?
In terms of what?
Well, in terms of being individual humans
we share,
versus being individual gods, right?
So because we are finite versus the persons being infinite, this is where the distinction comes. So because we are finite beings, we do share one nature. We do share, in fact, Mike, you and I have the same mind and same energy. But because we are finite beings, in the mode in which we actualize that mind, that energy, that will, that is why we have this separation, because we are finite. But in the persons of the Trinity, they are infinite, and there is a perichoresis. In everything that the Trinity does, the one God does, is from the Father through the Son and in the Holy Spirit.
Which would be the one singular energy token. But then, for example, if I were to perform an act as a token, you could choose to seize that act and not do it, or you could choose to do the opposite of what I'm doing.
So, forgive me, but I really wish you'd be a little bit more direct. So, are
Sure.
you saying
What do you
that
want me to say?
humans share a nature like the persons in the Trinity share a nature, or do they share it in a unique and a special way?
I mean, I would say that us sharing in the same nature would be analogical to the nature of God, because the nature of God is unknowable in its totality, of course. So it would be analogical.
Okay, so then the persons in the Trinity do share a nature in a way that we as humans don't share a nature.
Yeah, I'll put the quantifier saying in a sense because we don't fully understand God's nature, of course.
Okay, so how come if humans cannot share a nature in any way like the persons do, how do we know what you're saying is like real?
There's nothing wrong with saying that we share in the nature in a similar, or if in a sense the same way as God does. That's why I don't make the argument that God is one because he's one in nature. St. Gregory of Nyssa, specifically in his writing Ad Ablabius, or On Not Three Gods, specifically actually uses a reductio on that exact argument, saying that if we are one in nature, we might as well just say that we're all one man. That's a reductio argument, right. Basically saying that it's not really worth using as an argument. That's why the entire writing of On Not Three Gods then goes to say that we can see it in God's energy, we can see it in his act, due to the fact that you can do something I can't. That shows that you and I would be separated. And God does not do things like that, as all three persons are one token as well in terms of the act, while you and I have different tokens.
So then in order to make it analogous to the Trinity, what I would have to do is demonstrate that there's something that the Son or the Holy Spirit can do that the others can't. And then that would, in your view, prove that there is this difference between them.
Yeah, you'd have to prove that the Holy Spirit is capable of individuating energy, rather, and doing something that the Father and the Son does not participate in.
Okay, does not participate in. Can you explain that more?
Yeah, in that singular token of actualization of something. So if you were to say, for example, if you were to try to make an argument that the Holy Spirit does something that the Son and the Father doesn't, you would have to show, obviously, that that's not still sharing in a triadic act in some way.
Could you give me an example of any type of act that would be equivalent to perichoresis, just done by human persons?
Done by human persons? That's the reason why we're not absolutely identical to it, because human persons are not in a perichoretical relationship. We're not all indwelling and interpenetrating each other's hypostases.
Right. So listen, the reason why I ask is because it's a part of the problem for me that there is no way to describe the way the persons share this nature like humans share a nature.
You believe that we should be able to understand the modality? Because to me, that's just like special
pleading, right? You're just like appealing to this thing that's happening and taking place, but there's no way you can conceptualize that on our reality.
You believe that we should be able to understand the totality of God's modality?
As it relates to logically possible things, yes.
Logically possible things.
What do you mean by that? Do you believe that God can do the logically impossible?
I would say that it's against his nature.
Right, me too. I agree with that.
So what's logically impossible about perichoresis?
Well, it's more that when you say that the persons are truly distinct from each other, right? What that's going to do is take some set of characteristics or traits, and make them individual to them, right? That's as I mentioned earlier. So I'd have to present something that shows that one is truly different from the other, like humans, right? Mm-hmm. Like you were talking about having an individual mind, but they don't, because they participate in perichoresis, right? This mutual interpenetration.
Yeah,
so I'm following
there's individual hypostatic properties in the person, so we don't have a problem with that.
Okay, could you give me an example of what one of those individual hypostatic properties would be?
Yeah, the Son is begotten and the Father's not. The Holy Spirit's also not begotten.
Okay, so if the Son is begotten and the Father is not, you're going to attribute that only to their person? Like yes, a hypostatic property? That's essentially what you're saying?
That would be a hypostatic property, yes.
Okay, why would being begotten be attributed only to their hypostasis and not their nature?
Because being begotten is something that is proper to the personhood, right? So like if when you were begotten by your mother, you were not, like your nature was not begotten. Your person was begotten. Metaphysics Mike was begotten as a person. So that constitutes you.
Okay, so am I a separate human than my mother?
You are, yeah.
Okay, so then yes, she did produce a nature as well.
So you don't believe that we all have one human nature. You believe an individual human nature is like a nominalist then.
So it does depend on what sense we're talking about. If we're talking about universals, then yeah, of course, there is only one human nature.
Okay.
But when we get down to speaking of particulars, which the persons in the Trinity would each be particulars, such as humans are particulars, well, then no, of course not, right? We count human beings, plural, for humans. So that actually wouldn't be,
Yes.
I'd reject that.
That argument would then be applied by energy. That's the reason why we know that we're individuated and separated because of that. Because you and I have different modes of actualizing said things that are natural to our nature, natural to our persons, or basically a natural property or possessing something of human nature. The fact that we
sure.
both have the capacity to do things naturally, we share that same identical capacity for natural human acts. But, like for example, possessing a body and a soul. But what constitutes your soul to be the way that it is not the same as me.
Yeah, so I'm following you here. Let me tell you what the problem is. Okay, so when we say that the Son is begotten and the Father is not, that's not so much the issue as much as it is that the Father cannot be begotten. That's really the problem here.
Yeah.
Because if they were truly identical in their nature, then both of them should be able to serve the same role. The fact that their roles are different is best grounded in a difference within nature.
What's your argument for that?
Well, I mean, we should start with a deity. I think that's probably the best example we could go with, right? So if the Father has a deity, why? Where does that come from?
Because
To claim that something like the ability to self-exist is only in the person wouldn't make sense, because a deity deals with existence. It deals with being. If you don't exist, you have no being, right? So to be self-existing is a property of being.
Yeah, a property of being in turn, but then the actual mode of existence or the way in which you exist is hypostatic.
So how could you justify that the Father
exists is ase.
Well, how could you justify that the Father's aseity arises from his hypostatic properties and not his nature?
Aseity is not a positive property, man.
Okay, by positive, do you mean essential?
No. By positive, by positive, I mean that it's simply declaring a negative. Or it's that like it not being a positive means that it's simply declaring a negative feature or a negative trait of said person.
Oh, okay, is God by nature eternal?
Yes.
Okay, so then being eternal derives from possessing aseity.
No, it doesn't. What's
You
your
understand,
argument for that?
right? You can't be eternal if you're not ase.
What is your argument for that?
What's my argument? Are you denying that? You're rejecting that you can be God but not be eternal?
You can be eternal, but I'm denying that all three persons must be individually ase.
So to me, that's a problem on both sides of this fence for you. So how are Jesus and the Father equal if only the Father has aseity?
If only the Father has a... Say that again? What'd you say?
How are Jesus and the Father equal if only the Father has aseity?
Because they share in the same nature and one singular act. Just because the Father is hypostatically ase doesn't mean that he's not of the same nature as the Son. You'd have to provide an argument for that.
Well, I would start by making a claim that someone's being in their person is just a formal distinction. They're coextensive, meaning they extend over the same time and space. So you're not actually describing two different things.
A formal
when you're
distinction as in
talking about
like
nature
quiddity?
and
A formal distinction is in like a formal constituent or like a quiddity? What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about properties within the same thing. So if being and person are formally distinct, they're two aspects of the same thing. They're not two different things,
Yeah. I mean,
right? So
are
for
they
me to speak of your person and to speak of your nature is to speak of the same you.
Yeah, so in terms of something being a formal identity or something not, for example, being the entirety, right? Like, do you believe that in terms of like nature and person, so you believe that that's it? So you believe nature and person is a formal distinction then? Is that what you're saying? Oh my gosh, what's my camera?
Yeah, that's literally what I just said.
Okay,
Oh, listen,
but you're saying it in terms of a quiddity, like a formality, or what do you, or a form as in like a platonic sense?
definitely not in terms of forms. No, though, I mean, listen, we could maybe draw some parallels. I mean, something's not wrong just because it arose from Plato. The issue here for me is more the theology, right? So if you're going to claim that Jesus is equal with the Father, but Jesus does not possess a deity, to me, that's a problem that must go down right to their nature, because the Father has the ability to exist based on his own existence. Okay, where the Son doesn't, he's dependent.
What makes him
So they
dependent?
can't be equal, is the point.
I mean, something being dependent implies that that thing's not perfect prior to its dependency. So, like, what's your argument for that?
A thing is not perfect prior to its existence. Say that again.
Something. So, in order for something to be dependent, it would then be considered imperfect prior to its dependent thing. Prior, like its dependent thing.
Okay, would you say that the Son is dependent upon the Father?
No,
Okay, so then the Son is not begotten.
he is begotten. It doesn't lead that he's
Okay.
dependent, though, in philosophy.
Okay, if the
He's
Son...
naturally intrinsic to the Father.
All right, listen, that actually wouldn't change anything. Now he's just eternally dependent.
Yeah, there's
that wouldn't make him not dependent.
Intrinsicality is definitely not identical to dependency.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. You're basically saying that in all possible worlds, the Father will generate the Son, right?
Yes.
You're just making the Son's generation something essential.
So then with your logic, then, like, if you were to grant that for the sake of the argument, then the Father would be dependent on the Son, for the Father to be the Father.
Okay, so I don't believe that Jesus is equal to the Father.
I understand.
So it's not a contradiction for me to believe that the Son doesn't have a deity. You do believe that Jesus is equal to the Father. So that would only be a problem within your paradigm.
Yeah, they're equal. They're equal in act.
How can the Son not possess a deity but still be equal to the Father when he's dependent upon him for his existence?
Well, one, he's not dependent. I said that it's an intrinsicality, which is different, because intrinsicality is simply just saying that he's naturally existent from the Father. There's not some form of dependence where the Son needs something in terms of like being lower. So that's why I'm saying that we're using the wrong terminology here.
So can the Son exist apart from the Father?
No, and the Father can't exist apart from the Son.
Okay, then that is to say that the Son is dependent upon the Father for his existence.
No, because with that logic, the Father also would be dependent on the Son.
Okay, I already addressed this. No, he wouldn't, because there's nothing tying them like intrinsically to each other. Again, for me, if I don't believe Jesus is equal with the Father, that's not like... Okay, I appreciate if you let me finish, but maybe I think I cut you off too. So sorry, you finish and then I'll respond.
I was saying that what makes that intrinsic is the fact that the Father is the Father because he has a Son.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you mean that in like a metaphorical way or a literal way. When you're calling the Father, is that literally or is that metaphorical?
I mean, literal, not in the biological sense, but by nature.
Okay, so is the Holy Spirit the mother?
What? How does that follow, dude?
Okay, if you're saying that the Father is literally the Father of Jesus, and therefore he can't be a father if he doesn't have Jesus, well then is the Holy Spirit the mother?
What is your argument for the Holy Spirit being the mother?
Okay, you're not answering the question, Bryce.
How does the Holy Spirit come to be the mother with your argument?
The point is that if you are claiming
You're still
that
not
the
answering.
Father can only be the Father if he is literally the Father of Jesus. Okay, that's your claim. He's literally the Father. You can take that back if you want. But if he is literally the Father, well then who would be the mother literally? Can you have a son without a mother and father?
Yeah, in terms of like God begetting this son.
So again, if you can laugh at this, but
Why you're
really,
presupposing that a mother is necessary, man?
of course, because you said he's a father literally.
Yeah, and I said not in the biological sense, and you literally avoided that and ignored it.
So if he's not a father literally in the biological sense, then that is to say he's a father in more of a metaphorical way.
No,
Bryce?
it doesn't automatically lead to it being metaphorical, man. How does that follow?
Okay, if it's not literal, then what is it?
It's not
What is it?
literal in the biological sense, man.
Okay, so it's literal in what other sense?
In the nature of God himself.
In the nature of God. So nature's just automatically produce sons?
How does that follow?
Yeah, what you're saying doesn't make sense. How does that follow? What do you mean? You're the one making these weird
No,
weird claims.
how does what you said follow from what I said? I'm asking for that.
Okay, listen, my argument at this point is pretty simple. Okay, so I'm saying that the best explanation for the fact that the person's roles are not interchangeable, for example, like the Son being begotten and the Father not, is their nature. And an example of this I'm giving is from a Sadie as well. So if
So where does the
son,
necessity of a mother come from?
okay, well, this is called a summary, all right, where we're trying to summarize and get there. Okay, so I'm arguing that if the Son does not possess a deity, then he cannot be equal with the Father who does. And that's how we got to dependence. How is the Son dependent? You're saying he's not dependent.
No.
And that's how we got to in what sense is he a father, right? Because you basically claim that he would have to.
The Son is intrinsic, Mike.
No,
Yeah, I've said that. Like
he's saying that the Father would have to produce the Son, right? And so I'm saying, well, in what sense is he the Father? That's how we got here. So I'm
because
not
he produces
claiming.
a son.
Yes, but that's a metaphorical is the point. That's not literal, like you said.
Thank you for your position. You're asking about my position. And then you're bleeding your position into my position. It's not even an internal critique anymore.
All right, so I'm sort of confused at where the disconnect is here. So you said that he's not literally.
It's between your brain and your mouth, Mike.
You're saying that he's not the Father literally in a biological sense.
Yeah, because God does
Right?
not. Yeah, because God God in of himself in his essence does not have biology, bro.
Okay. All right.
But then it can still be literal without being biological.
Okay, so then what other sense is it literal?
By his nature himself being a father.
Okay, what does it mean to say that by himself being a father? Is father something you are by nature?
The Father is the Father in terms of him being God, but it's hypostatic to him that he is the Father because he produces a hypostasis of the Son.
So honestly, it really just appears like evasive to me. I'm not sure why you
How am I
would not
evading
be
you?
okay with saying it's metaphorical if the only way it's literal is just attaching the name father or the term father to the nature. Like I don't see how that would make it not metaphorical.
I mean, the Father's materially identical to the God's nature, so.
Okay, is the divine nature material or immaterial?
It's immaterial.
Okay, so then to say they're material identical means nothing.
How is
Okay,
your
that's
name?
just a
How is your
contradiction.
name Metaphysics Mike, bro? And you don't understand what material identity is.
Okay, name for me something that is two things that are materially identical. Name anything.
Name two things, like what, in creation? So you're asking for a created analogy again?
Oh, is there a problem with that?
Yeah,
the problem with that?
because God is analogical. Like the way that we actually predicate anything of God is analogical.
Okay, so then name me things that aren't physical material that are materially identical
Oh my
that aren't the
gosh.
persons in the Trinity.
That's literally unique to God's being.
Okay, so we're back to special pleading then. You don't
The
actually
angels.
have
How
an
is that special
example of
pleading?
anything else that's materially identical.
That's not an
Yes.
argument.
Bryce, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
The angels.
Materially identical to what?
Other angels.
I guess if you're saying by nature, in that case. But I'm talking about it in the sense of
He
like
asked
the
for a
hypostasis.
He asked for a non-material example. So the subtle bodies of the
No,
angels.
you wouldn't really say that, because when I'm saying that it's materially identical, that's saying that it's of the same thing. The angels are not all of the same thing.
Yeah, and also angels have a body anyway, so
A physical body?
yeah, angels have a physical manifestation. It could be some form of divine embodiment, it wouldn't matter.
Is it matter?
Yeah, I think the scriptures would support that angels do compose matter of some type.
So are they made of like atoms?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Okay, I'm not
We,
even.
we-
I'm,
can we
I'm
put
not
wait,
even
wait,
gonna
can we
address
put
that
can we put angels under a microscope?
if we wanted to.
Like, what's their atomical composition? What is that?
You're asking me what is their atomical composition?
Yeah, like under a microscope. Like if we could put them
And
under.
if you can't
I don't
describe,
know.
well, then you're
That'd
special
be
pleading,
really
Mike.
interesting to think about.
You're special pleading, Mike.
Special pleading?
Yeah, you can't show how that's possible.
How is it special pleading?
Yeah, you can't show how that's the case. That's special pleading. Like how you said to
I
me
can't show how what's the case, that angels would have a body?
that they're made of
He's
matter and
material.
atoms.
Okay, so when the angel appeared at the empty tomb, what did the women who first saw it, what
He
did
took
they
on the form
see
of
with
matter
their
at that time.
eyes?
They took on the form of matter at that time. Nothing wrong with that.
Noetic perception.
Oh,
Anyway.
okay, so those angels, they just appear to have matter, but they didn't actually have matter.
Yeah, they don't exist in matter.
They don't exist in matter.
It's noetic perception.
Okay, what would they exist in?
What do you mean? What would they exist in? They're immaterial. What do you expect me to say here?
Presuppose they need a material composition.
So you're telling me that angels have because of the fact that they're bound by matter, you're telling me that angels are bound by space-time and that they have a position in space-time?
It does appear like angels are sent from different spatial places. It does. Angels traveled. They even ate, I believe, at times in the scriptures.
How do you know that's all
All of this
metaphorical?
would infer some type of material position.
How do you know that's not all metaphorical?
Well, if an angel ate with Abraham, I think that would mean that's like something that actually happened. I don't think that was a vision.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, in our view, we believe the angel of the Lord is Christ, but
Yeah, so I mean, hey, we could totally get to that, but I would definitely like to hone back in here. So, if Jesus does not have aseity, then how is he equal with the Father?
how is he equal? Because he shares in the same nature. Aseity is something that's proper to a hypostasis. So if they're both consubstantial, then they're still equal with each other.
Okay, how is the ability to exist in oneself a hypostatic property?
Because it's a mode of existence. It's not just the existence itself. The way that the Father exists is ase.
Okay, so what is aseity?
Not having anything constituted prior. Not having anything to constitute you.
Right, and so you're saying not having anything to constitute you is a mode of existence.
Yeah, because you exist ase. You exist with no origin. That's a mode of existence.
No, I think that's a category error. Okay, if aseity is the ability to self-exist, right? So if an entity has aseity, they exist within their own self.
Okay.
You're saying that the existence is the mode of existence?
No. So like in terms of them by nature, like if somebody, like if we were to say for a hypothetical scenario that like that would be like ase by nature, right? Because we could say that God in totality by nature would be considered ase to the created order because we are the thing with satiety from God. So then in that case, God would be ase. But if we're talking about theology proper or the intertrinitarian life, the Father causes the Son and the Spirit. Therefore, in the intertrinitarian life, the Father would only be the one who's ase. There's a distinction between theology proper and the way that God is constituted from, or the way that God is seen from the created order.
So yeah, right. And then this is how we got back to the other point. So I'm not following how you could justify aseity being just a hypostatic property by calling it a mode of existence.
In terms of theology
Because-
proper, it would be.
Okay, by theology proper, again, are you basically just saying it's an essential attribute?
Aseity?
Yeah. It's essential to their hypostasis.
I mean, like I told you already, aseity is not a positive property, so it wouldn't be considered like an actual property that constitutes the Father. It's considered. It's literally aseity implies that there's something with satiety to reference to. So it wouldn't be some form of like I'm not really sure like why you're trying to attribute it as a positive property.
Well, it would have to be a property of nature, since God by nature would have to be self-existent, right? That you agreed to that God by nature is eternal.
Yes,
That
but then
means
hypostatically, the
aseity
mode
is
of
also
existence
a
is not.
property of nature.
Yeah, so if they're ase by nature, their hypostases does not necessitate that they're ase hypostatically. It's not the same thing. Because
Okay.
within that nature, if they are given existence eternally by the Father, then hypostatically they wouldn't possess aseity.
Listen, could you just like do me a favor and just like dumb it down, like maybe just 1 or 2 notches, and just restate that? Because like I'm really not trying to misjudge you. I'm truly not. But what you're saying is just
We'll
not
dumb it
making
down
sense.
if you remove metaphysics from your name.
Okay, I guarantee you I know more about metaphysics than both of you. But no, so I won't remove that from my name. So could you
But
go
you
ahead
wanna
and
dumb
just
it down?
dumb that down and say it more simply?
Okay. So naturally, right, God would be ase compared to the only other, which is creation. So they would have satiety. They would have something that constitutes it. It does not self-exist in and of itself. But then if we're talking about the intertrinitarian life and we're talking about the hypostases internally to the nature, then the Father would be the only one who is ase because he causes the Son and the Spirit to exist.
Okay, so how does that then make them equal in nature if nature would presuppose some type of eternality, though?
They're all eternal.
You're basically hopping back and forth. In one sense, you're saying that being ase is like a hypostatic property, right? That's what you're saying on one hand. But then you're also saying that technically the Son is still ase in this sense because he's like materially identical to the Father. Like again, then you're making it like an essential property, like it is a part of their nature.
Yeah, but then when we're talking about the hypostasis itself, and we're talking about its mode of existence, it wouldn't be hypostatically ase.
It wouldn't be hypostatically ase. so if okay, so
I don't
if
know
it
what was
has-
funny
if-
about
if-
that.
Well, because there's such like this is just such a word game. The Trinitarianism is such a word game.
I understand
Right,
that you
cope,
don't.
by the way.
I don't. Yeah, that's cope. That's not an argument at all.
Okay, so Listen, I created my argument. You guys keep
I know you're not
basically
I know you're
playing
not
both
get
sides
yeah.
of this fence.
I know that you're not like
No,
enjoying the fact that I'm not giving you the classic, Trinitarian owned answers. But that's because I actually study the topic. I don't debate. I don't debate people
What?
that don't know what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
maybe Mike, to help us out, could you provide this in a premised syllogism for your argument and provide it to Bryce?
Okay, so God by nature is dependent upon no one. Okay,
Is that
the Son
is that
is
premise one?
dependent on someone.
Can you give it in a syllogism? Like, do you know how to do that?
Of course I do. What are you even saying, dude?
So go
I'm
ahead.
literally.
What's the first premise?
What's the first premise?
All right, listen. I'll rephrase this. We'll go if then. Okay, rule of inference here. Okay, so if the Son is equal to the Father, then the Son must have aseity, because the Father has aseity.
What's the argument for that?
All
What's
right,
the
the
syllogism?
Son does not
What's
have
the-
aseity.
Like, what is
Therefore, the Son and Father are not equal.
what is the
What's the argument for that?
well, no, hold on. What is the inference rule you're using here? Is this like
I believe this would be modus ponens,
okay? So P1 is what?
like the rule of detachment. I'm just going off the cuff, off memory here, but
Okay.
I believe that's what it would be.
Yeah. So premise 1 is what?
Okay, if the Son was equal to the Father, he would possess aseity like the Father.
I deny P1.
Okay, so then how can Jesus not possess aseity and still be equal to the Father?
Because he's still consubstantial. Just because his hypostasis, his mode of existence, is not the same as the Father doesn't mean he's not consubstantial with him.
Okay, consubstantiality is essentially them being fully and equally God.
It means of the same
Dude.
substance.
Yeah, I understand from homoousios. Okay, so this is a statement about their equality, though. You agree with that, yes?
It is a statement about it, yeah.
Okay, so then you're just making a claim. You're just saying that they're consubstantial. I'm asking you how
have to
the
provide
Son
the
could
argument.
not have aseity and still be equal to the Father.
Because of the fact that the Father being ase is a hypostatic thing, and that the Son possessing satiety would be hypostatic to him. If they both still share in the same nature, which is ase ontologically in that sense, then there's nothing wrong with that. The hypostasis itself, in its mode of existence, possessing satiety.
So I still don't think that you have justified.
Can you
how
steelman me?
Satiety. Yeah.
Go ahead.
For it would start with aseity being a hypostatic property. That would be the first.
In theology proper, yes.
Okay, in theology proper, right? So I'm rejecting that, right? That's
You're
where we're at.
rejecting theology proper.
He's saying steelman him.
I asked you to steelman my argument.
And I just gave you the first premise that aseity is a hypostatic property.
Okay, so first off, I never said it was a hypostatic property. I said it's something that we can use to see with the Father. I already told you it's not a positive property of the Father. So it wouldn't be considered an actual constituted hypostatic property. It's literally just saying that the Father is not something. That's not a property.
Oh, okay. Is God by nature self-existent?
Yes.
Okay, so then being self-existent is a property of nature. What are you not getting?
Yeah, that's why I said that God in totality is ase. But when we're talking about the hypostases themselves in their mode of existence, the Son does not possess aseity.
Okay, look, if aseity is a natural property, then all who possess divine nature must have aseity. But the Son and Spirit are not self-existent. They are begotten, right? They proceed from the Father. Therefore, they lack aseity. Conclusion would be they do not fully share the divine nature. Or I guess you could just redefine what you even mean by divine nature.
I mean, I already explained that when we're saying that the Father is ase, that is specifically for his mode of existence of the Father himself. It's not actually denoting the natural existence of God as a being.
Okay, so this would go back to basically me rejecting you being able to segregate God's being from his person. If that's just a formal distinction, then you can't actually assign any set of properties to one or the other.
What's the formal distinction again? Person and nature? Like which one?
Yes. Okay. Listen, a formal distinction, you could just Google it historically.
I know
You
what
should
a
look
formal
into the work
distinction
of like
is.
Duns Scotus, right?
Duns
Okay.
Scotus,
So
yeah. Duns Scotus.
yeah, a formal distinction is going to be the difference between two aspects of a thing, right? So when we're talking about what someone is and who someone is, it's the same someone. That's my point. So you can't actually ascribe any type of set of properties or characteristics to just one of them.
Yeah. So that's why that when I say that he's ase, that's not denoting an actual positive property of the Father, like I've said about 5 times. It's denoting that the Father is not something that the Son is.
Okay. All right. It is not a proper property or excuse me. How exactly did you say that? Say it one more time.
It's not a positive property of the Father because it's denoting something that the Father is not.
Okay. It's not a positive property. Got it. Okay. Is God by nature self-existent?
I already said yes to that.
Okay. So then it is a property of nature.
In terms
By
of being
nature, is God
self-existent,
by nature self-existent?
ase does not just mean you do realize that ase means comes from nothing, right? Meaning there's no origination.
Not really. No,
What-
the Latin would be from itself, not from nothing.
So what is satiety?
I'm telling you, it's ase is from itself.
What is satiety?
What is satiety?
Existence, existing from oneself.
Satiety.
Did I not get that right? Satiety?
So satiety and aseity are identical to each other.
No. Okay.
So what is
No.
satiety?
I mean, it's what it regards to basically what, like some type of quality of individuality.
If I
or
possess
like being
if I
unique or
possess
something.
if I possess satiety, what does that mean?
It means that you're unique and individual, something like that.
So aseity means what?
So you are existing by
Mike,
your individual.
How are they entirely
Mike,
different
we can
definitions?
We can hear you clicking.
You can hear me clicking? Who's clicking? That's not me clicking. I just heard someone click, but that's not me.
So ase, right? From self, meaning that you are not from anything, right?
Yeah, you're self-existent.
So then what is satiety?
I just told you. It's like do you want me to repeat myself? What am I not
Yes,
missing?
please repeat.
Yeah.
repeat
Or
yourself.
excuse me,
Yeah.
what
Do
am
it
I
ag-
missing here?
Your definition of satiety doesn't even match the opposite of aseity, which those are opposite definitions.
Right, when you put in front of something, I'm following you. Okay, so then what is satiety?
Satiety is from another. It's from something that's not yourself.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is give me a second.
Gotta look something up real quick.
Yeah, just give me a moment. I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah, take your time.
Now I'm gonna look this up right now. So a satiety.
ChatGPT, please save us. Please save us, ChatGPT.
So Merriam-Webster says satiety is a quality peculiar to oneself. How is that not fitting what I said earlier about being something individual or like unique?
1 second, guys. I'm going to fill my daughter's water up.
Everyone, please stop the screen. The likes up.
Yeah, I don't
Listen,
listen.
hold on,
I
not
just
you. Hold on, not you, buddy. Hold on.
Okay.
Sit down. Everybody, please like the live. Tap the screen, if you so please. We'd appreciate it. Father is filling up his daughter's water bottle. It's admirable. Tap the screen.
Okay, so I
Hold
am
on, man.
at a
What are you
loss
doing?
here
You see the man is
for
not back yet, and you're still talking. That's crazy. You see the man's filling up his water bottle for his daughter, and yet you start talking. That's crazy. I'm
well,
talking
I
to the
hear you
audience.
talking,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
hear you.
I'm just
I hear
trying to
you,
like
but I
sort
still
of
hear. That's
engage.
crazy.
I'm just
Hold on,
sort of
that's still
trying
crazy.
to
He's not back
engage
yet.
with you,
Hold on, he's
right?
not back yet. That's crazy. Hold on, he's not back yet. I'm talking to the audience.
Hey,
Sit
can
down.
you
Relax.
sort of just chill
Take a
out and
chill
be
pill.
respectful, man?
Take a chill pill. This isn't your panel. Calm down. Sit down. Relax. Go eat a
Dude, I
Snickers.
am calm. You're just like kind of being rude, right? I was trying to engage with you, right? We can wait for
Yeah,
Bryce to come back.
yeah. We're waiting for the host. You're engaging with him. You're chat GBTing or whatever the case may be. I'm talking to the audience. I want them to get the likes up. Calm down. So, audience, please, if you so please, tap the screen. Thank you.
Who is talking right now?
Your conscience.
I don't see anything lighting up. Is it Jay?
It's your conscience. I'm a material angel manifested, telling the chat to like the screen. Saying Schoolboy's also another material angel. He's a little bit lower than me though. To like 35K likes before he gets back.
I want to see 40K likes before he gets back.
Pretty ambitious.
I mean, considering that the stream is the Trinity is logical, prove me long, I want to see 144,000 likes. And we can attract all the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I almost said something crazy. I don't know if I could say that joke though. Can I say it? Good boy, you know what I'm about to say. Can I say it? Would the live get banned if I say it? If I say the number?
Probably. 271,000 likes, guys.
All right, I'm back. What are we doing now? Same argument?
Asking for 271K likes, but anyway.
That's a lot of likes for what we currently have, dude. You're very tyrannical there, Zay.
It would be crazy. It would be crazy if we only had 5 viewers and we were asking them for 6 million likes, but
All right, so anyway, are you
right,
ready?
so
Are you ready
listen,
to
I
steel
came to
man
my-
me?
Yeah, so I came to my computer and I looked up satiety, and it's saying a quality peculiar to oneself. This is from Merriam-Webster's.
Mhm.
So again, you asked me what is satiety, and I said it had to do with like being unique or like individual, and I think that lines up perfectly with what I'm seeing here.
Yeah,
But you said satiety means something else.
yeah, because aseity simply means that you do not come from another. It means that you are self-existent, or that you are independent of nothing for your cause of existence, right?
Oh, okay. Is the Father another to Jesus?
What?
It just answer the question. Is
do
the
you
Father
enjoy
to
word
Jesus?
concept fallacies? Like, do you enjoy them or something? I say one thing and you look for like some weird poison.
Okay.
Like you know that I'm
is-
not trying to say something that like you think I'm saying.
Okay, is the Father another to Jesus? Are they the same person or are they two persons?
They're two persons.
Okay, so then when we're talking about something having a satiety, according to even your definition,
Which is
that
a mode of
wouldn't
existence.
be true because the Son is dependent upon another for his existence.
No, dude. You still don't get it. Like
All
literally
right, that's not a rebuttal. If Jesus is not the Father,
it can't be a
and
rebuttal
satiety
because
means
I've
to
given you my
self-exist.
argument multiple times. I've given you the exact understanding that we have multiple times, and I've asked you to steelman me, and you still have yet to do that.
Okay, so you're just again changing the subject. You haven't answered my questions.
Good rhetoric,
I have
Mike.
steelmanned your argument.
Good rhetoric.
I did. The first thing I started by telling you. I said, okay, you're saying that it's purely a hypostatic property.
I didn't say
that was the beginning to the
How
steelman.
many times have I told you it's not a property? How many times have I said that?
Okay, and how many times have I told you that if God is by nature self-existent, then it must be a property of the nature? That's what I'm telling you.
My gosh. Aseity refers to something that is that possesses satiety. You understand that?
Yeah, of course.
So then it's
Bryce.
not
Yeah.
a positive property.
Okay, so if it
It's a
wasn't
negation of a positive property. A positive property would be possessing satiety.
okay, so is the Father and Son one self or two selves?
Self being what?
Self being an individual person.
As in, if it's just to refer to person, then they're two persons, like I said over and over.
Right. Okay. So then the Son is not self-existent. His existence is dependent upon the Father.
In theology proper, it's if it were talking about the hypostases themselves and the mode of existence of the persons, then yes,
Intrinsic,
it's
not
intrinsic.
dependent.
It wouldn't be dependent, because in our view as well, the Father, with that logic, if we were to use the word dependent, would then be dependent on the Son to be the Father. The Son, it would be considered that to have a father, or sorry, to be the Son would have to be begotten of a father. But we don't use the word dependency, because dependency in philosophy normally does not denote things the way that the Trinity is.
They are
That's
intrinsic
a
to
modern,
each other.
it's more modern terminology from like the Enlightenment period.
Oh, okay. So then let's go real basic here. What is a property?
I mean, like, I guess if we could say that it's a quality or an aspect of something.
Okay. So self-existing, existing within your own self, that is not a quality of something.
Being self-existent refers to not coming from another.
Okay. Do you also agree that it also entails existing within oneself?
I understand that you can apply it in a positive manner, but it is not a property in of itself, because it is referring to something that does not exist from oneself. If you are ase, it's referring to the things that are.
Okay. So
That's a negative property, man. Like, do you not know what that is?
okay, so listen, of course, but I keep rejecting that and then giving you evidence for that, right? So
And like, you Steelman, Bryce's position.
Can you please
Like,
do
do
that?
you understand what apophatic is? Like, you Steelman.
okay, so I have, please don't just try and change this here. So I have tried to steelman you.
No, you
All,
Steelman him right now.
Do it.
oh, okay, dude, we're literally trying to do that right now by
You're not.
discussing whether
You've been
a Sadie would
strawmanning
be
me
a
for an hour.
property or not.
You've been strawmanning me
Just
for an
steelman his
hour. I'm
position.
asking you to steelman what I said.
Accurately represent what he is positing as a position.
Okay,
And
he's saying that
counter
in
to him.
theology proper, you wouldn't say that some type of negative is essential to the nature, right? You wouldn't say that. And so to
What?
him, there's no issue with saying that the Son is begotten, because that is not derived of the nature. It's pertaining to their hypostasis. Listen, I'm almost positive earlier too, you verbatim said that it was a hypostatic property, but now you're saying
No.
it's not a property at all.
I said that. So if you want like an actual hypostatic property of the Father, we could have a formal constituent of calling it paternity, or if you want another negation, you could say that he's unbegotten.
Okay, sure. So do you agree though that at least the first half there, that's a proper steelman of your position?
When you said that it's not essential to nature because we're talking about the persons, that part was fine. But when I'm talking about what we are currently talking about, the mode of existence of the persons themselves. So that is what we are currently on. We are not on whether or not that it's a property of nature in any way. I have already told you multiple times that we're talking about it in the mode of existence of hypostases.
Okay.
Do you know
so
what a
do
mode of
you-
existence is?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's subsistence. Okay. So listen, if theology proper defines God as, one being in three hypostases, and they're all equally God, and aseity is an essential attribute to the divine nature.
Oh my gosh.
What are you, oh my goshing here? What was that, you or was that Jay?
Because you're repeating yourself again for the stuff I just explained.
Dude, if the Son and Spirit are not self-existent, they are begotten, they proceed from the Father, then the Son and Spirit do not possess the full divine nature.
What is your argument for that?
Okay, let's try again. Please don't just laugh it off. If
You have to provide an
theology
argument for
proper,
that, Mike.
if theology proper defines God as one being with three hypostases, and they're consubstantial, they're equal, and aseity is an essential attribute of the divine nature. And if the Son and Spirit are not self-existent, that would be to say they do not possess the full divine nature, aka they're not equal, right?
There is a
so you're
different-
rejecting premise 2. You're saying it's not a property at all. It's not an essential property, right?
I'm pretty sure I rejected premise 1.
Theology proper doesn't define God as one being and three hypostases who are consubstantial.
We're on a new we're on a new syllogism now? Because that wasn't your first argument.
Yeah, that's true, but that was like 15 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm rephrasing it because we're in the conversation right now. Right.
What, you said I rejected P2. So, dude, you didn't even like state that you were making a new syllogism. So, like, what's P1 here?
Okay, so hey, that's fair. That's fair. My bad, Bryce. I'm not trying to be confusing for you, genuinely. Okay, so I'm really trying to rephrase this in terms of your language, right? So we can actually get somewhere. That's what I'm trying to do, at least.
Okay.
So theology proper, right, defines God as being one being, three hypostases, and they're consubstantial. Now, I'm arguing, this is P2, right? Aseity is an essential attribute or property of the divine nature. And I'm saying that's where you would disagree. You're saying it's not even a property at all.
I wouldn't say, I said, no. So, like, if we're talking about nature, if it's referring to the created order in terms of how, like, the difference between the created order and theology proper, right? There's nothing wrong with saying that God entirely is ase. I already said that.
Okay, so then self-existence is an essential attribute of the divine nature.
I don't want to, I mean, I get, for the sake of the argument, I'll grant you that to see where it goes.
Okay, cool. Hey, I appreciate that. So, all right, if it is an essential attribute of the divine nature and the Son and Spirit are not self-existent, therefore the Son and Spirit do not fully possess the full divine nature.
You just collapsed person and nature for the 500th time.
Okay. I'm not collapsing person and nature.
You did.
Because I'm not saying that the persons are each other. I'm not trying to collapse them into the one nature. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that.
That's exactly.
Listen, I'm saying that. Pardon me?
That's exactly what you did.
All right, let's try this again. So if aseity is an essential attribute, you just said you're just going to grant it, right, for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
If it's an essential attribute of the divine nature and the Son and Spirit are not self-existent, then they do not possess the full divine nature.
Hypostatically.
Because self-existence is an essential property of that nature and they don't have it.
You just collapsed it again.
Okay, how?
Because when you said that God is ase, right? And then you say, but the Son and Spirit are not ase, therefore they're not the same nature, right? Am I wrong with what you said?
I'm sorry, say it one more time. I just want to make sure.
So I granted you for the sake of the argument that aseity is an essential attribute of God.
Yes.
An essential,
of the divine nature.
And what? Okay, yeah. Well, that's what an essential attribute is. Essence, right? So yeah. So then you concluded that the Son and the Spirit, because they don't possess aseity, That they are not of the divine nature, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
That collapses person and nature.
Okay. How?
Dude, if because the mode of existence of the persons themselves does not always denote essential attributes. That's collapsing them together if you think that is the case.
Okay. So in one sense, I think you would be correct. Actually, I actually think you would be correct.
I'm just saying that hypostatically the Father is ase, and the Son and the Spirit would not be ase. Hypostatically, that does not mean that they do not possess the essential attribute itself of aseity.
Okay, so God help us in this moment. Okay, so did you or did you not earlier deny that aseity is just a hypostatic property?
Are you serious right now? I told you that I'd grant it for the sake of the argument. Now you're going back on me like a snake?
No. Earlier, when you said that the aseity is a hypostatic property, that was, you're saying that's not what you're saying.
Yes, I said because that's a negative.
Right.
That's a negation.
Right. So your solution to the argument I've just presented you is to make it a hypostatic property, though.
No, it's not. Because when I say possess aseity, I'm saying that for the sake of the argument that we're having right now. It is still not a positive actual attribute that is possessed by that hypostasis in a proper form. It is denoting something that the Son and the Spirit are not, or that the Father is not.
Okay, so earlier when I asked you, is God eternal or self-existent by nature? You said yes.
Yes.
To me, that disproves that point then, Bryce.
How?
Because if God, or the Father specifically, right, does have aseity by nature,
yeah,
and you're saying the Son and Spirit have the same nature, then they should have aseity, but they don't.
I said
right?
I said by nature 100 times. I said by nature that they possess it in totality of being God, because it's by nature. But then when we actually talk about the persons themselves in the way in which they exist, the mode of existence of those persons, they would not possess it hypostatically. So your argument is collapsing nature and person together, like you say you're not doing.
Okay. So,
Mike,
I think as I tried to tell you just a little bit ago, I do think that you are right in one sense. I do, actually. Okay. So this would be the sense where person and being are truly two different things. And I see that argument, I really do. However, I'm rejecting that. Right? So that's something that I think you would need to prove sufficiently for your argument to be sound. So again, I am rejecting the idea that being and person are two separate things. Rather, they are two aspects of the same thing.
Mike,
you understand, formally distinct.
Instead of that, would you be willing to live stream a boxing match between you and me?
I boxed once when I was a teenager for a bit. It was fun. I'm not so much into it.
I
prefer to use my hands for other things.
I would rather fight you than debate you again.
Well, I don't think we're debating. I'm speaking with Bryce, though.
Okay, anyway.
Oh, you said something about a formal distinction. You said that person to being there's not a real distinction between the two.
Yeah, so in terms of like person and nature, right? Like when we say that there is a real distinction in some way, shape, or form, that's also regarded as a formal actual distinction, right? Which in a sense is also a formal distinction, but not in the way that you're positing it. Because we believe that distinction isn't so do you believe a formal distinction is entirely prior to the intellect?
Yeah, I probably would say yes. Yeah.
So it's entirely prior to the intellect.
Well, I mean, by prior, are you essentially talking about a dependence of some form?
Yeah, so in order for the distinction to be complete, must there be a human mind to make it?
Yeah, I would say yes.
So it is dependent on the intellect.
For sure, yeah. The difference between someone's being and person exists only in how we perceive them with the human mind. That is correct.
Yeah, so with that being said, if you say that there is nothing prior to the intellect that shows a distinction between person and nature, you're collapsing them.
Nah, Bryce, just collapse them into solipsism. He just said it. He said the thing.
Okay, so
Can
if
persons do individual things by nature that other persons don't do?
I think I want to say yes.
Can persons actualize things of their nature that other persons don't do?
Yeah, I will
Are,
say yes.
are there then two natures?
Yes, with humans, yeah.
So wait,
So we
out of
don't have
curiosity,
we don't have a common nature.
So listen, again, I said this earlier. So if you're talking about universals, then the answer would be no. But if we're talking about particulars, and we are, you're
Particular
talking
nature.
about persons individually,
yeah, right.
then yeah,
Particular
then
nature.
Right, yeah, Bryce, allow me to ask this quick question now.
Yeah.
So, would you say there's, what, how many people on Earth? 8 billion now? Are there 8 billion instantiations of different natures
so
that don't share a common
they aren't,
universal
I wouldn't say they're
of being human?
instantiations of different natures. They are an instantiation of the same nature. However, we
How if
do
there's no
count the
universal?
natures with the persons, right? In terms of
Wait,
humans.
wait, how does that work?
It's like,
You're like adopting universalism and then dipping out and going to rejecting universals.
Okay, so
I'm confused.
how many humans are you and I? One or two?
We're different instantiations of humans, but we share a common universal human
Okay, notice how
in
you aren't
particulars.
answering the question. You guys
Just
have
answer
just
the
How
straight
did he
question
up
not
directly.
answer
answered my
that
Because you're
question?
questions.
asking the
Okay,
question directly.
are
Like,
you
what do you
and
mean?
I two human beings, or are we one human being?
We're two particulars that share a common universal human nature.
Thank you very much. So when we're talking about
That's called hypostasis.
They're the same
yes,
way.
we
Oh my
are in
goodness, holy
fact
cow.
talking about. Yeah, it's exactly. See, man, you guys want to sit here and play, but that's
What
exactly
do you mean
what you
play?
are
That's not
doing.
cold.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
not an argument.
you just
What do you mean
conceded my
play?
point. What are you
No, you
arguing
didn't.
with?
You just argued for 8 billion instantiations of different human natures that don't share a common universal human.
Okay, I
are
told you
my
if we're
left hook
talking
and my
about the
right hook two
universal,
different instantiations of whoop ass?
I told you if we're talking about universals, then the answer is no. But if we're talking about particulars, then the answer is yes.
So
You just conceded by acknowledging that we are in fact two human beings,
We're two human
particulars.
beings, but we're
So
not
we
two
count
human
the
natures.
nature.
that is
We count the
called
nature.
that's called a hypostasis, Mike.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I reject this distinction between being and person as though they are two separate things. They are two aspects of the same thing. So if the persons of the Trinity are truly persons, that is to say that they are three natures, because a person and their nature are inseparable.
Are two persons formally distinct as well?
Persons of the Trinity are human persons.
Human persons.
No.
Is human nature and human person, is that a formal distinction?
Yes.
So then there's real distinctions in persons, but then it's all of the same thing, right?
When you're saying within persons, that would technically be wrong. It's within one person, right? A
No, I'm talking
single
about two
individual's
persons.
person
Two
in nature.
persons are separated from each other, right? They're really
Yes.
distinct. Okay. And
Yeah.
then person and nature is formally distinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we all of one thing if they're collapsed into just a formal distinction like that?
Okay, so if we're talking about humanity, humans as a universal category, then I'm not sure we would call that collapsing, because there is one human nature. But
Yeah.
if we are talking about the particulars, the specific instantiations of the nature,
That's called a person.
then yes, we do in fact count the natures.
That's literally the definition of a hypostasis, by the way.
I know, yeah, of course.
So
of
then
course
we
it
don't
is.
have individual natures. That's just a hypostasis.
Okay, so listen, that could be true if the distinction between my being and person was real, but it's not a real distinction. It's just a formal distinction. These things are inseparably linked in reality. Do you know what coextensive means? What does
My
coextensive
right
mean?
hand and your jaw are gonna be inseparable in reality.
All right, schoolboy.
All right.
I'm trying to stay on this.
All right. So what does it mean to be coextensive?
Enlighten me.
Okay, so if you don't know what it means to be coextensive, then you haven't thoroughly studied the rebuttal to your position.
Dude, first
okay?
off, what?
Coextensivity. Okay, being coextensive is
I've
where
given you
things
definitions
extend
for
over.
everything, bro. And then I
Okay,
haven't
no,
demeaned you for not knowing
okay,
something of my position.
okay. All right. Listen, things which are coextensive extend over the same time and space. So being in person extend over the same time and space. Earlier I said that who someone is and what someone is the same someone. So it's two aspects of the same thing. They're not two different things. Okay. So that would mean that if the persons in the Trinity are fully God and they're each distinct from each other, there is no amount of distinction between person and nature which could get you out of three gods. Okay.
Wait,
Well, actually, that's not true. If you accepted modes or parts, I would totally grant it. But if you reject those things, then absolutely, yeah,
so regarding nature and person, you said that they're coextensive, right?
yeah,
Okay. Extending over the same space or time.
yeah, and the distinction between them is something that exists only in how we perceive people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you know somebody by their nature or by their hypostasis?
Okay, so that is to presuppose that they are two different things. They are the same, they are two aspects of the same thing. So to know someone's person is equivalent to knowing their nature.
This is nominalism.
That's
No, it's well,
that's literally nominalism.
oh, okay, so let's just go ahead and say it is nominalism. What's the problem?
The fact that you don't now have the ability to show any form of universals at all. What is so like is this universal is the universal nature constitute all of the individual natures?
Does the universal nature constitute all the individual natures?
Yeah.
I mean, by constitute, are you talking about like an instantiation?
Sure. Yeah.
Is the universal nature a compendium of all the individuated natures?
Compendium. I'm not sure I know what that means.
Like
What
so
does
the
compendium
the
mean?
universal nature.
I'll dumb it down 2 steps if you remove metaphysics from your name.
Oh, this is the
Go ahead,
clown
Bryce.
speaking.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Bryce. Go ahead,
I
Bryce.
thought
Go ahead,
you were
Bryce.
taking
All right,
this
all right,
seriously
all
like
right,
an
all right.
adult.
So is the universal nature that you're talking about, the common nature of all humanity, is it a collection of all of the 8 billion individual natures?
In terms of reality, yes, because natures don't exist apart from persons, the instantiations.
Okay, so then the universal nature is then in that case a collection of all of people's individual natures, right? What is my camera doing?
I mean, I think again within the sense I've defined, I think it's probably okay to say that. Yeah, I think that would be true.
Would you say that an individual nature, right? You said it's formally distinct from the person. The individual nature is formally distinct from your person. Would you say that, like, for example, part of like an individual nature would be to have a beard?
If you're talking about like a predicated attribute or property, then yes.
So it's predicated then to that individual nature, right?
Yes, but not by identity.
Okay. So then, with that being said, if there were no human beings on the planet that had beards, would it then be unhuman-like to have a beard?
I think the answer is no.
So then, having a beard is universal to human beings?
So if we're talking about just the potentiality of it, then yeah, of course.
Okay. So
Listen,
I'm
you
basically
agree that
I'm
natures
giving
just don't
hypostatic
exist
properties.
apart from persons, right? You agree that
I
natures don't like exist in the ether apart from a person.
I'm okay with that. What I'm trying to give
Yeah,
you though,
okay,
but
so
the
then when we're
problem is that
talking
you affirm individual natures. That's the issue. Because then if I were to give you, you said the universal nature is a collection of all individual natures. So with that being said, If I were to give you a hypostatic property of me, but then in your view, that would be a natural property, an individual natural property of me. Then
No, I'm
so
following you.
if that didn't exist, if nobody had that property, is it unhuman-like for somebody to then possess that property?
Yeah, right. I'm following you. Okay, so there's two different senses we have to understand here. If we're talking about the universal, then again, like I said, I think the answer would be no, because we're really talking about humanity as just like a category, right? It's just a description of what something is. However, if we're talking about the particulars in instantiated nature, then the answer would be yes. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Because a nature, when instantiated by a person, can have all the attributes or qualities of the nature. That proves my point that these things are inseparable.
So, like, if a beard, for example, like I possess a beard right now, is that natural to me?
Yes, as a predicated property, yes, not by identity.
So if I were to remove my beard, I have a new, I now have new natural qualities?
Both of them are natural. You wouldn't say it was new. I don't know why you'd throw new in there.
Where are you getting that from? The universal nature?
We're talking about listen, if we're talking generally speaking, humans can have beards.
If we're saying, say that again.
Humans can have beards. Okay, but when we're talking
that's
about
universal,
specific
right?
instantiated nature,
You said humans?
yeah, if we're talking about a specific individual, right, the particulars, well, not all humans have beards, but having beards is perfectly consistent with human nature. Do you see the point?
No, because within your view, it basically makes it to where our natural qualities or natural properties change, which doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so what's the difference between an is of predication and an is of identity?
An is of predication is that your identity is based off of what you are predicated to, or that what you are of.
Yeah,
right? And then
correct.
the is of
The
identity
predicated
is what you are.
attributes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and the is of identity is what you are in of yourself.
Exactly. Okay, so what I'm saying is that having a beard is not something you are in and of yourself. It's a predicated property. Okay, so there's no problem.
Okay. So
Yeah,
but
issue.
with an individual nature, right? If you
Because
that
it's a predicated property. It's predicated. That's not essential to nature.
Yeah, do our individual
If you're a human, you don't
natures-
have to have a beard. Is the point.
Yeah, do our individual natures have an is of identity attached to it?
Do our individual human natures have an is of identity predicated to it? Okay, and what's the identity? What are we talking about specifically? Beard still or something else?
Properties.
Well, then the answer is no, right? Just because you're human, you don't have to have a beard.
I'm just saying properties in general. Is there any properties of your individual human nature that is the is of identity rather than a predication?
So I think the answer would be yes. We would say that it is being human by itself, right?
That's a
I
universal.
could say
That's
that
universal.
I am a human by identity.
That's
right?
that's the universal. That's not the individual human nature.
So actually, you can say individuals do have something by identity like human nature. You could say that I'm a human by identity. That's
because
totally
you possess
okay
the universal human nature. Yeah.
Because they possess the universal human nature.
So then I asked you, are there is of identities that apply to the individual human nature?
So it depends on what we're talking about. You don't agree with that? Like you're speaking generally, so I'm finding it hard just to give you a straight answer, right? Because it depends. If we're talking about predicated properties, well then it would be no, right? Because not all humans have to have some set of predicated properties like having a beard.
That's is of predication. I'm asking you for is of identity. Is there is of identity in the individual human nature?
For what? Is it for what? What would be the identical
I'm asking you if there are
property by identity?
I'm asking you if there are.
I mean, hypothetically, I'd probably say yes. Didn't I just answer that in regards to human nature itself? Like you could say that you are human by identity.
That's the universe. That's because you have the universal human nature. That's what makes you human. That's not the individual human nature.
Okay. And I'm not talking about predicated properties. I'm talking about the general.
I said
humanity by general.
I said is of identity, and you keep saying predicated
Yeah.
properties.
So what is being confused here? Am I not understanding you?
You're literally.
Like,
I
not-
keep
I don't
asking
get what
you.
the problem is.
I keep asking you to show.
I don't think it's
I-
a what. I don't think it's a what is being confused. I think it's a who is being confused, and that would be you, Mike.
The individual human nature. I keep asking you to show me if there is of identity to it. You then said, well, we're not talking about predicated prop. That's the is of predication. That's not what I said. You understand?
Honestly, no. I'm confused at what the problem is.
Yeah, because individual human natures doesn't make any sense.
Okay, how many humans are you and I? One or two?
Two, because we're two
Okay,
hypostases.
so then in what sense are we two humans?
Our hypostases.
Okay, so then what's the problem? You are agreeing that we do count natures, the beings, with humans. You're agreeing. So like you're agreeing now.
You are positing that there is an individual human nature that constitutes Mike, right?
Yeah. I'm a
That's-
human. Yeah.
That is literally just a hypostatic property. That's not a natural property. If you say that there's an individual human nature of you, then there has to be a natural property to that individual human nature. It's nature, natural. But what is the natural property to Mike? That does not constitute the general, the universal human nature.
Okay, so did I not answer this when I told you that we could say that, so me specifically, I am a human by identity? You don't think that answers-
Because of the universal, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Bro. So I'm
What's
asking.
the contradiction?
so-
What's the P and not P, Bryce? You're just
the
making
P and not
assertions.
the P and not P. Are you serious?
You're the one that made the assertion.
Where's
of
the
person in-
contradiction
Person
here?
in nature. Wait,
I wasn't positing a
the assertion of
contradiction.
person in nature.
I wasn't positing a contradiction.
Yeah, you kept
Do you think
saying that I'm
contradiction is the
talking
only
to-
way something can be wrong?
you keep asserting that when you're asking me about a universal that I'm jumping to predicated properties, right? But you were the one who used the example of beards.
You believe that
Right,
do you believe that natures have natural properties? Do you believe that that's a thing?
They can in the sense of human being, right? I am a human being by identity. That is a natural property. That's not jumping to a predicated property. I wouldn't say that human is just something predicated to me, right?
Yeah. And that's in that identity is constituted from the universal, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the problem?
So the
What's
natural
the-
so your hypostases has natural properties from which? The individual nature or the universal nature?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time?
Yeah, is your hypostasis, does it possess natural properties from the universal human nature or the individual human nature?
I reject the distinction between them as two different things. So I would say both.
So you don't agree
Oh.
that there is individual human natures then? That it's just
There-
one
there-
thing.
Okay, there are individual human natures, but that is not the
Is that
same
is that
as
really
talking
distinct
about
from the universal? Is that really distinct from the universal human nature?
Of course, you can have predicated properties. You asked about the hypostasis, Bryce. See, this is why it's confusing because you're the one who's speaking of these things fluently. In one sense, you're talking about hypostatic properties as something specific and individual. But now you're asking me if there are hypostatic properties which relate to the universal. This
I-
is actually very similar to what God logic is talking
you-
about.
Bryce, drop me for Abdul.
Essentially hypostatic properties, right?
Yeah. So the reason why that I brought up what I brought up is you said that you don't. Did you or did you not say that the individual human nature is the same thing as the universal nature? Did you say that?
No, I said they are two aspects of the same thing.
So now they're formally distinct from each other.
That's what I said since the beginning. Being in person
No.
are formally distinct.
What? The individual human nature and the universal human nature. Right? You said that the formal distinction is in the person and the individual human nature. Yeah. Did you say that?
I think the answer is yes. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
think
what
I
is
said
the
yes.
so what is the distinction between the universal human nature and the individual human nature?
Okay, so dude, we've already answered this. The distinction would be, in one sense, we're talking about universals like being a human, right? And in the other, we're talking about predicated properties which apply to the individual. This is why I asked you about the difference between predicative and an identity, right? Because the example were beards. Not everyone who has a beard is the same human. However, they are both. Well, I don't understand why you're laughing at this. I'm genuinely trying to understand your position here, Bryce.
Because you're
because no, listen. In one sense, I'm totally acknowledging that there are predicated properties to individual humans who instantiate a nature. That's fine. But then you're saying that's somehow an issue in regards to the universal. But like, I'm not allowed to say that you can be a human by identity. So
Okay.
I'll ask again, like, what's the contradiction?
Yeah,
What's
I'll
the
ask.
problem?
I'll ask one more. I'll ask
is
one
there
more
a
question.
Universal metaphysics, Mike.
I'll ask one more time. All right, and then I'll let Abdul ask a question because he wanted to ask something before I end the stream. The distinction between person and essence or nature, right? In terms of the individual human nature, is that a formal distinction?
If by individual human nature you mean hypostasis, then yes.
So, oh my gosh, so they're the same exact thing. They're identical to each other. Hypostasis
Okay,
is
so-
individual human nature. Yeah.
So no, I've told you that they're two aspects of the same thing. So someone's being and nature are not.
This is rage bait. This is actually rage bait. Abdul, go ahead.
They're not the same aspects.
Okay. Mike, God bless everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Mike, when you were talking about formal distinction, how are you defining a formal distinction? Do you think like the individuated nature is a formality?
By formal distinction, I'm saying that it's a difference within the same thing, right? Not two different things.
Okay, things as in like reses, like reality.
No, in terms of the person's being and their hypostasis, right? Someone's being, who they are and what they are. That is only formally distinct of someone. Someone is both who they are and what they are. Those are like inseparable in reality. Across our time and space, they function as the same.
Okay, and when you say individual nature, do you mean a particular or like somebody is his own nature?
A particular.
Okay, particular. Okay. And in the case of humanity, and the universal comes into like a natural synthesis with peculiar accidents. Is that how we differ from one another by our accidents?
I think the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay. And are we one the same in respects to nature?
In terms of the universal and not predicative properties of nature, yes.
What do you mean predicated properties of natures?
Okay, so again, same
Would you say a
example.
beard?
We're just going in circles. Okay, so Bryce used the example of a beard. Okay, not all
Okay, a
humans
beard-
have to. Let me finish. Not all humans have to have a beard, right? Not all humans have to have a beard, but having a beard is natural to humans.
Is a beard an accident?
It could be considered an accident, yeah.
What do you mean? Is it an accident or is it totality in the whole sense of it? Is it an accident or is it a natural property? Is it necessary to be a human to have beard?
Dude, I just told you, you don't have to have a beard to be human.
Okay, so it's an
I
accident.
just told you.
Okay, so then it's an accident. Then it's not a natural property. It's an accident.
And I just
Okay,
told you
good.
could call them accidents. I just told you that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you said it could be an accident, brother. It could be doesn't mean in any sense it's an accident.
Yes. Okay, yes, it's an accident. Having a beard
good.
is not necessary as a human by nature.
Okay, but the natural property, what necessary makes you a human, differs from the accidents, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, how is this a formal distinction between the accidents, which makes the individual that said particular, between the natural, the nature, which makes the individual what he is? Because nature-wise, we're one and the same. You agreed when we talk about universals, but the said nature comes in a natural synthesis, and gets Let me use instantiated because you like that term. Instantiated from the said universal. What makes us what we are is the said human nature. What we all have in common, universal. This peculiar accidents differentiates from one another. How is this a formal distinction between the two? Because now you're bringing formalities. So is the particular a formality of the universal?
Okay, here we go. I'm going to debunk your whole line of questioning right now with a simple question. Ready? Can a person have a beard apart from having a human nature?
Dude, can a person have a beard apart from having a human nature? No.
No. Okay, so that is the sense in which they are formally distinct. Thank you very much.
What? How does that debunk anything? You just asked me about an accident.
What are you laughing at? Listen, if you cannot have a beard apart from having a human nature, then you can't actually call that merely a hypostatic property, because such a property is dependent upon its essential nature.
Okay, Mike. Does a goat have a beard?
That's a dumb question.
Can you answer the question, Mike?
Yeah, I think goats have beards, Abdul. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Do they have to be? You don't have to be a human to have a beard, huh? It's an accident, bro. It's not natural. It's not necessary to be a human. It's an accident. It's different categories. You're conflating the categories. That's the problem.
Okay, all right. Tell me when you're done. I don't want to cut you off.
I'm done.
Okay, all right. Ready? Goats and humans are not the same nature.
Bruh. That's not my point.
Goats and humans are not the same nature.
Are those natures formally distinct?
Yeah, you literally said that I'm doing a category error while you just tried to apply something related to human nature to goat nature.
No,
that's you actually making the category error.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. No, my point is an accident doesn't make the nature what it is. You're conflating the two of what is proper to the individual.
Okay.
Dude, you just cut me off. Don't cut me off, please. I just apologize for cutting you off. Let me finish. What's proper to the individual is an accident that makes the individual what it is, as in a beard, a crooked nose, I don't know, colorful eyes, skin color. Those are accidents. They're not necessary. An accident is what we call an hypostasis. The nature itself is necessary for the individual. But just because somebody has a beard doesn't mean they're more human or less human if they don't have a beard. You're conflating the category. You said this is a formal distinction. I'm asking you, are these accidents formalities of the universal? You have yet to answer this.
Okay, so I did answer that. And I don't think you're tracking, because I actually agreed with like the whole first half of what you said, Abdul. I'm in like agreement with that. Okay. And I think that's actually demonstrated by my example, right? So I agree. Just having a beard, okay, is as like a predicated property is not essential to being human, because humans can also not have beards, right? Okay, so I'm acknowledging that. I don't know why you keep saying that there's some type of conflation going on. I agree.
Oh, no, my point is then how is the accident from the nature a formal distinction?
Okay, all right. I'll try one more time. Okay, are you ready? Can you have any predicated property for humanity, like having a beard, okay, apart from a nature?
I don't even know what that means, honestly. What the hell does that mean? Can I have any predicated? Can I have a beard apart from a human nature? A goat has a beard, doesn't have a human nature. These are accidents. They're not necessary to have a human nature.
Oh my gosh, dude. Okay, just a second ago, you had no problem saying no. Now you want to add on more. Uh,
Dude.
listen, if okay, you cannot give an example of a predicated hypostatic property that can exist apart from a nature, then my argument follows.
Dude, okay. Now we're talking about accidents. Again, goats have beard. Beards are accident. That doesn't mean they have to have a human nature.
Okay, do goats have a nature?
Yes.
Okay, so then this still applies because
What?
goats have a nature, right? You'd have to give an example of something who could have a predicated property like a beard that does not have a nature. So can you give an example of something?
Abdul, let me do something. Is the accident that's in the goat nature for them to have a beard, is that formally distinct from the accident from the human nature?
Category error. Human natures aren't the same as goat natures.
That wouldn't be a category error. You would just say no because they're not the same nature.
Yeah,
That doesn't make it. That's not a category error.
Bryce,
This is not real.
This is not real.
Dude, you just asked if a quality.
Can you
within
show me a
goat-
beard
Okay,
that doesn't?
Please let me finish. You just said that you asked me if a property within goat nature is formally distinct to human nature. That's what you asked.
I asked if
Okay,
it was
yes.
formally distinct from the accident of having a beard in the human nature.
Yes, and I'm telling you that's a category because we're speaking of two different categories, right? Okay, human nature and goat nature. Listen,
That's
the
not a
problem
category
here,
error, man.
the problem,
We're talking about universals there, Mike. That's
Listen,
not a different category.
guys, the problem is not really what the predicated property is. You could fill it with X. It could be anything. The problem is if it can exist in reality apart from a nature.
Did you
So
really ask us
so
to
you've
like show
actually-
a beard that exists
so you-
outside of an instantiation of a nature?
Dude, this is not real.
Listen, you guys as Trinitarians are the ones who attribute certain properties just to the hypostasis, right? So if I'm arguing that the who someone is formally distinct to what they are, then I'm actually on point to question you guys to give an example of how a hypostatic property could exist apart from in nature. If you can't give one, that supports my position that they are formally distinct.
You know that we do have things called formal constituents, right?
I probably read about it. I'd have to think more about it. Like look.
Things like
Pull up a book.
paternity and sonship. Those are formal constituents of the hypostatic relations.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that those are just hypostatic properties.
Oh my gosh, I can't do this.
No,
No.
that's a
Before you kick him off the panel, Mike, when
Hey,
when can we
Bryce,
have our
if-
boxing match? And
Bryce,
do
if-
you want headgear, gloves, or are we going bare knuckle?
all right. So listen, you're just an insecure guy. All right. So
No,
listen,
I actually want to
Bryce,
fight you.
Yeah, you're talking about fights because you're insecure. All right.
No,
So,
I actually want to
listen,
fight you.
because you're insecure. All right.
No, it has nothing to do with insecurity. I
So
wanna kick your ass.
Bryce,
Oh my gosh.
listen, if I did misunderstand you, if that's not what you're saying, I'm genuinely sorry, Bryce. I'm not trying to misrepresent your position, man.
The real distinction between the persons is based in the fact that one is unbegotten, one is begotten, one is spirated. That would be their real distinctions between each other. Those are things that constitute persons, right, in a real sense. And then there's formal constituents that are on the persons, like, for example, possessing paternity and sonship.
Okay. So would you mind explaining that in like what that means in terms of the relationship between the person and nature? Because what that sounds like to me is you're saying things like paternity are like hypostatic properties, right?
In terms of a proper term, a hypostatic property would be unbegotten, begotten, or spirated, or procession, if you want to use that.
Okay.
That is a hypostatic property. The distinction between those is real. That's a real distinction. It's a major real distinction, if I use scholastic terminology. And then in turn, what?
Oh, no, please finish. My bad. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm talking about formal constituents. Those are formal formalities of the persons from the real distinctions. Do you understand that?
I mean, I think I do. Essentially, you're saying that him being unbegotten is like
Formally gives him
is
paternity.
okay. Formally, wait a second. If it's formally, that means it wouldn't be real. You just said it is real, though.
Bro, there's no way. There's
There-
no way.
All right. Well, I gotta go, man, because it's like midnight and I'm not even supposed to be up right now. My wife's gonna unalive me if I don't go to bed.
Hey,
Look.
that's fine. No, that's totally fine. I get it. That
Metaphysics, Mike. Metaphysics. If you actually want to understand what he said, read St. Gregory the Theologian, Oration 29. He explains exactly what Bryce just said. The term father is a relation to the son. His hypostatic property, Gregory the Theologian answers in Oration 20, that is unbegotten, unoriginate, causality, principle. So all amounts to the same thing when we're denoting the Father. Saint Gennadius Caladius says the same thing. But brother, Lord have mercy. Bryce, God bless you.
all right. So here, let me write down that citation. What was that? I'll check it out if you
It's
think it'll
Saint
help me
Greg-
understand.
Yeah, Saint Gregory the Theologian, Oration 29. Specifically, what I just quoted is paragraph 12. When he talks about what Bryce just talked about the formal constituents. That's paragraph 12 of the 29th oration. Is the third theological oration. If you want to read the whole thing, he also goes of the Father's relation with the Spirit, as in he's the emitter and the Spirit is the emitted. That's paragraph 2. But really, you can read oration 29, 30, 31. He explains our view of the triad perfectly. So then you could actually understand what we mean, because this was crazy. Is that
All
you want
right,
me to
sounds
repeat?
good. I'll check it out. I got it written down, and yeah, I
Sure.
will. I'll check it
All
out.
right.
All right, cool.
God bless you. God bless you, Bryce.
man.
You have a good night.
Yeah, God bless.
All right, night, Bryce. Thank.
Sorry, I accidentally kicked you out. I didn't know you were gonna say something. My bad. Good stream tonight, guys. My patience was tested, but hey, all good. Give a speech. Keep praying. Go to church. Take that dang Eucharist. You're baptized. Cool. Stay thrifty. I think people say that. See you guys later.